It is time for Around the 412 with Smitty and Tyler.
Welcome back to another episode of Around the 412. I am Tyler. With me, as always, is my co-host Smitty. Go follow us on all of our social medias at Around the 412. Also, go check us out on YouTube if you are not watching there already. Go subscribe to the channel, leave a like on the videos, and let us know in the comments if you have any questions, what you'd like to see in the podcast. We will definitely address those, answer some of the questions on the show. So go interact with us over on YouTube. While you're there, or whether you're listening on Spotify, Apple, or wherever you find podcasts, go check out the description of each of our shows. We've got year 7 of Rockin' Around the 412, along with many other links from our various sponsors. But we are going to talk about year 7 of Rock Around the 412. It's our Christmas fundraiser to help provide children Christmas in the local Pittsburgh area, the 724-412 area codes. We've also partnered with the East Rochester Salvation Army over the last few years, adopted kids off of their angel tree. So with the help of everybody that donates, we're able to provide not only the angel tree, but also individual families the Christmases. We literally get them basically whatever they want. They get us a list and we just provide it for them. So if you want to learn more about that, go check that out in the link. It's the top link. It's going to be there from now until December. And if you can, spread the word, trying to grow it up as much as possible. We stopped taking donations around second week of December because then we have a couple weeks till Christmas where we get the gifts out. So go check that out. This is the Pirates show. The Pirates have a winning record in the last time we can say that. When was the last time you think that we could say the Pirates have had
they had a week?
A week of a winning record in between when we've talked about them? I feel like it's had to have been since at least July. I don't remember any time during August where that had happened. And they had a pretty decent summer, like June into July. So it's probably July is the last time that happened. Maybe pre-All-Star break. I don't even think it happened at post-All-Star break because they made their trades and then they kind of just shut down from there. So I think it's been a while since we've actually talked about them winning games.
Yeah, you're right. I was trying to quickly look here, but I don't think I'm going to be able to find a stretch where I see that for sure, like jumps off to me that was the case. Yeah, you're right. July, towards the end of or middle-ish of July, right before the All-Star break / right after the All-Star break would have been the last time because they had the White Sox in a really good series against the Phillies, where things were going pretty well.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah. So, but yeah, here we are. Things are kind of winding down for the Pirates season. Not sure how many people are still, watching every single day, still going to games. Shout out to those people that are the diehards. Can certainly appreciate that aspect. You are basically to the Pirates what I guess I am more so for the Steelers and Penguins. I don't think that I ever feel this way about them as franchises, despite where they are towards the end of the year. I mean, both of them are typically competitive. To the end of the year anyway, but I don't know. Actually, that's kind of a good point to bring up. Let me ask you that. How long do you think that it would take, or do you think that you'd ever get to the point that you are with those franchises as you are with the Pirates?
I would say I'll start with the Steelers. Steelers, no. I don't think whether they were one of the worst teams in the NFL or they were Super Bowl contenders, my interest in them is pretty much the same. I may not get the same enjoyment watching them as I would when they're good versus bad, but I think that because of the limited games, you only get it 17 times a year guaranteed. I think that would just draw my interest no matter what. Plus, I mean, it's football, but for hockey.
Also, let me add to that the football thing. I think it's interesting because you could almost not, and again, we've had this debate too about tanking for picks, right? If you are already kind of out of it at the end of the year, but in that case, whoever you draft is, unlike the other sports, is an immediate help.
Yeah, especially if you are tanking and you do hit something that high. Normally, that's a huge impact player if you're drafting that high. So, yeah, that's a good point. I definitely think football is the sport I would lose the interest in the least when it came to the team being bad. Hockey, I think that you would probably I'm sure it could get to that point. Like, don't get me wrong. I did not watch hockey in the early 2000s. I mean, we were just too young to really understand.
You know who
what
my favorite
going
player
on.
was when I was growing? My first favorite player that I remember.
Tony
This would be hilarious. Who?
Tony Straka is my. That's Anthony's ECHL name or
Oh, okay.
name.
I was like, what? Is that a nickname for Martin Straka?
Martin Straka.
No, very random. Sebastian Caron.
That is a random name.
Why? I have no idea. My first favorite player on the Penguins. But that the whole reason to say that was because even though the Penguins were bad, like I enjoyed watching them at that time. Rico Fata, Michelle Ouellette, like I enjoyed those teams. People that are like, what do they talk about this right now on the Pirate Show? But the whole point of that conversation, this conversation that we're having right now, is just like, yeah, I don't see a world where I'm as disengaged.
Yeah, well, and that's what I was kind of getting to is like maybe when we were young, like that X generation that they went through with the Penguins, like we would have watched games, but it's kind of like when the Pirates were bad when we were young. We were kind of naive to it a little bit. Maybe it just didn't sting the same way because we didn't really know fully or understand what's going on anyway. Now that we're older, I'm sure I would get to a point with the Penguins where if they had several losing seasons and then losing seasons like they had in the early 2000s, then I'm sure that at a certain point it would become a chore to watch hockey games, especially you're getting into like March and like late March, early April, whenever the games at that point definitely wouldn't matter. I'd probably get closer to that, but I think it would take at least a few seasons. With the Pirates, it's been just a recurring thing so often outside of a few years of our entire life. Realistically, like when I think it was probably post that 3-year window in 13-15, I would say even like 2011-12, like we had the heartbreak, but like you knew they were tapping on the surface and they hadn't climbed that mountain yet. They hadn't peaked. And then you had them peak in 13-15. And then after that, I think that's where all of our resentment / disappointment / just lack of care whenever they start to really just play poorly towards the end of the season and they're truly out of it. That's where that probably stemmed from, because I don't remember ever being like that before they had those playoff teams from 13-15. After that, you realize what they could be, and when they're not that, it's just hard to watch. And I feel like also, and I don't think that the MLB needs to shorten their season. I'm not one of those people, but when you do watch the same thing 162 times, it is kind of repetitive. And when that same thing is them just getting smashed, it does get repetitive to watch that. And it's almost, like I said, it's kind of like a chore sometimes. So football least, Penguins definitely would get there eventually, but not as much. Baseball, it's almost inevitable with the Pirates unless they somehow turn around and have a winning season. Like even in 2018, when they had a winning season, I can't even say just winning season, because in 2018 they had a winning season and I still was not watching in September like I was in May. I still was not caring enough to tune into every single game like I do in the beginning of the season. And they had a winning season. I think it's not until they're a true contender again where I probably just won't fall off a cliff after mid-August, because once you get to that point of the schedule, it makes it really hard for me to, and maybe it's just like my ADD, makes it hard for me to pay attention, especially once football is starting. And then when you add on top of that, they're playing poorly, that's where it makes it even easier to just tune out from baseball and immediately shift all my focus to football.
Yeah, it's a hypothetical, and I'm just curious to see if the other two teams kind of ever get us to that point that the Pirates have. But yeah, I could see it happening with the Penguins, that like, post Sid, where we're kind of expecting to be bad. It'll be interesting to see what the reaction is like then. And I'm not going to shy away from it. Like I kind of expect that to happen, and I don't know what type of fan that I'm going to be once we get to that point. But yeah, either way, looking at the last week or so of baseball, like you said, they do have a winning record over the last week, going for a third straight win tonight over the Miami Marlins, after splitting with the Washington Nationals in a 4-game series over the longer weekend going back to last Thursday. So they played decent ball as of late, but like I've mentioned on the past few episodes, like I'm really watching for the starting pitching at this point. Oneil Cruz, watching his turnaround, especially against lefties. Bryan Reynolds has obviously been a steady presence for them. It's nice that Joey Bart was able to get back as well, because I kind of thought like his season would just kind of shut down. Did bring up a new face in Billy Cook, and I know a lot of people are kind of skeptical about how his results are going to translate to the MLB level. But like my pushback to that is like, okay, you think that's going to happen? Let's find out. Like, what does it hurt right now? Like, there's no point
especially
in
right
just
now.
Yeah, this is the time to figure out, does this guy stink? So, I mean, I'm completely cool with him getting called up. And I guess we're waiting on why is the name blanking? Why am I blanking on the name right now? The other guy that we're waiting on that they acquired.
Chandler?
No, the center fielder, Nick York, to come up as well to join him. So we'll see if that happens. It should happen. I feel like it should have happened already. But you look at some performances over the last week. Honestly, what's funny is it's like I feel like every week we have at least one guy that's kind of been carrying the torch or something like that. There really hasn't been like that guy, at least anybody that has like a crazy amount of at bats. Like McCutchen has 12 at bats. He has 1,000 OPS, 333 average in that time. He's obviously been dealing with like that little bit of inflammation here and there where he's like sitting a day. Was put in the lineup one day last week and had to be scratched. But Joey Bart just came back, not enough sample size there. Oneil Cruz, 920 OPS, 278 batting average, 364 on base over the last week and 18 at bats. So that's not bad. That one, he just did a homer the other day, like 444 feet right off the batter's eye, like 111 miles per hour off the bat or whatever. It is funny though, because he's now one away from the 2020. But I guess I didn't realize how few, like I thought he was already in the 20s, to be honest. Like you could have told me Oneil Cruz has like 25 homers this year, and I would have just assumed that was the case. But I'm surprised he's not already at 20. But you mentioned that last week, how like your expectation for him before the season was like astronomical, and he was clearly not going to reach that. But he could be their first 2020 guy in quite some time.
Yeah, and that would be impressive. I mean, the last time the 2020 season was it Kutch?
Marte.
Oh, it was Marte. Sorry, Marte. I didn't give you enough credit. Yeah, that would be impressive. Like I said last week, I kind of touched on it when we were talking about Oneil Cruz and expectations for him. I want to get to a point where I think you get more consistent power from him throughout the entire season. You get it here and there, and I'm not saying he needs to be Aaron Judge, but I want to get to a point where the expectation is minimum 30 home runs with this guy. And I think that's not really pushing the envelope too much. I think that is a relatively respectable goal to have with Oneil Cruz every season. Like I said at the beginning of the season, I think he could be the Pirates' first 40 home run guy since Willie Stargell. I still believe at some point, if everything clicked and everything went right for him, that could be the case. You just look at the raw power, the raw ability.
There's somebody on the team right now. Yeah, it's obviously.
But I still think that if you set an expectation of this is our 30 home run guy on the team, I don't think that is out of the realm of possibility year in and year out. I think that that's just something that has to get more consistent with Oneil Cruz, and just batting in general. This team has to get more consistent. There's too many wishy-washy batters on this team. Another good bet looking over the past week, Nick Gonzalez has been hitting pretty well, batting 286, 318 on base, has 4 RBIs, excuse me. Bryan Reynolds, this is an interesting stat. He's batting 130, but he has 5 RBIs, which is interesting to see. You don't see that too often. Yeah, I know. But yeah, you mentioned Kutch. He in his limited time, he's looked pretty good. But I just think you got to get to a certain point where you have consistency, and I think that they've got guys that when they're playing their best, it can be a pretty good lineup. It's just so inconsistent with where you need to be to really be a competitive team. And I mean, like looking at some of your better players, and I don't want to keep harping on this player because we've done it so much, but like a guy like Brian Hayes, imagine the type of player he could be if he figured out his bat. Like what we saw last September, I don't know how that came out of him, because we've never seen it at any other point where he's that consistent for that long of a stretch. And imagine how good that would be for the Pirates if he could be like that. Imagine how good the Pirates lineup could be top to bottom if overall they were just league average hitters. I feel like there's just too much disparity between the ceiling and the floor of this lineup.
I was kind of hoping, and this is going to sound bad and weird to say off the jump, but I was kind of hoping that he would have back surgery, because it would at least answer, like, give you hope that once he came back from that, we'd be he'd be good from that. But like, because it's kind of just like rehabbing and he's on the IL, they just keep talking about like hoping that he doesn't need surgery, and it just strengthens it. I'm just skeptical that this is just going to be a thing for him in his career. But to your point, like, we know what the glove is. And I know that his defense took a little bit of a step back too, but that's kind of my concern. Like, do we get to a point where the defense kind of fades too? Because like right now, his glove in the lineup, like, I think you can get by if you could bury him at 8 or 9 in the lineup, but they obviously don't have the support. They don't have enough bats to do that. If they were to, surround, and it's easier said than done, obviously, we're not the ones making the decisions, but if they were to get a few more bats and be able to put him 8th or 9th in the lineup, that'd be such a game changer. What's going on, everybody? Smitty from Around the 412, and I just want to take a quick second to give a shout out to our folks at Game Changers. Their logo on the screen right now, right above my microphone. Over 2,000 different designs in their catalog. Luxury heavyweight material. I am wearing one of their shirts right now. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Head over to gamechanger.la or pick6.la to pick up some shirts. And guess what? Use code AT412. Save yourself $10 on your order every single time. Again, gamechanger.la or pick6.la. Best vintage t-shirts in the game. Check them out. So I don't know. I know that sounds weird to say, but I was kind of hoping that there was some more there, where whatever he needed done was like, he just could get it surgically repaired. Would obviously probably take him out for a portion of next season even, but then we'd be, I don't want to say in the clear because you never know, but you would like to think that he would be on the other end of that, and he'd be able to maybe return to form because of it not being something that he's having surgery on. I just kind of feel like we're always going to see this. Like, he's going to miss time year in and year out on the IL because of back flare-ups, and it's just going to be something that needs managed. So I don't know. I really fear that we've already seen the best of T. Brian Hayes.
Man, that's a long contract if that's the case. That's
right. And for most teams, that's like they can bury that and it doesn't matter. But for the Pirates, that's why people think it's like
that's like a cornerstone
contract
of your franchise type of contract. He's one of the building blocks for what their future was supposed to be.
Mm-hmm.
If he's already peaked and you've seen the best of him and he's just going to be declining, I mean, I just fear like it's going to be. I'm trying to relate it to one of those contracts that we had in the 2010s. Like, I feel like his would probably be closer to Polanco, just because Polanco never really panned out as much as fans would have expected. Had some injury problems himself, and for a while Polanco was like, I mean, to many, unplayable in certain facets of the game. So that'll be interesting to see how he comes back from it and see how that develops. Whether they like, I think that you're right. I think that he should just get surgery on it. I think that kind of gives him a clean slate from where he was. And it's almost like he's not necessarily a new player, but it's almost like hitting a reset button on that back and being able to kind of start from scratch of where we're monitoring it. I can tell you whenever you're just doing therapy on things, and it's not always a gradual incline. You're going to go up and down. And I feel like there's going to be several setbacks in this. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about either because I'm not a doctor. So I'm not going to say like I'm smart.
Well, the other part of it is like, I don't know if he could have surgery to repair what, like, I don't know if it's trying to avoid it, but they should just do it. Or I don't know if they've already like explored it and it doesn't need surgery. So like, that's not me saying get surgery. I don't know if he needs it or if it would improve anything. I was hopeful that whatever it was could be surgically repaired, and we could just get to that and then try to get on the other side. Is what I'm saying. But
I just mentioned a few minutes ago how different the Pirates lineup could seem to all of us if they were just league average hitters. And I want you to guess, and I will say one, Billy Cook, is batting above league average on the season, but he's also played in 2 games. So he's kind of exempt from this. But everyone else that has played a game for the Pirates this season, I want you to guess how many league average hitters they have on the team. And I'm just talking batting average, not including on-base percentage, even though someone could argue on-base is more important. Just looking at their batting average strictly, how many league average hitters do you think they have?
2.
They actually have more than that. They have 5 on the season.
What?
Yeah. They have 5 people that are batting above league average on the season.
What is league average?
244.
Oh, okay. All right.
Yeah, so they've got 5 players batting above 244. Bryan Reynolds is one of them. He's leading the team with a batting average of 276. Oneil Cruz is batting 268. Rowdy Tellez 251. Nick Gonzalez 268, and Joey Bart 273.
What's funny is, okay, if I could redo my answer, I would have said 3 because I forgot. Bart wasn't even the one I forgot about. I had Bryan Reynolds and Bart. Forgot about Cruz, but I wouldn't have guessed Rowdy and Nick Gonzalez being above league average.
Yeah, so they've got between their players that play fairly.
But I wonder does Nick Gonzalez qualify? Are you looking at qualified hitters?
I'm not looking at I'm literally just looking at, because if I man, MLB.com is so stupid sometimes with how you list their stats, because if I click on average, it shows me like 5 players instead of 20 that have played on the team. But I mean, Nick Gonzalez has played in 80 games. So it's not like a small enough sample size where I'd say it's a fluke.
No. Yeah, I was just curious if by league, like he would qualify.
But I mean, he's played in more games than Joey Bart.
Oh, really?
Yeah, okay. Joey Bart has only appeared in. Well, is Joey Bart playing tonight?
I don't know.
If he's playing tonight, this is his 68th game. If not, he's played in 67. But I just thought that was interesting that
Joey Bart is playing.
5 of their guys were league average. Other guys that are not
also touch
league average that are playing pretty regularly for the Pirates. Connor Joe batting 231 on the season.
Awful.
Kutch is batting 239, so he's not far off.
Kutch just hit his 20th homer, by the way.
Sick. That's pretty sick. Third on the team, or second on the team now. He is no longer tied with Oneil Cruz at 19. But I think Kutch, where he makes up for the batting average at this point in his career, he's still one of the best on-base percentage guys on the team. Consistently gets on base still. Michael A. Taylor on the season, 191. Jared Triolo, 207. Brian Hayes, 233. Sawinski, 182. And then you just start going down from there. When it could look at how many games are played. But like all of those games have played more games than Joey Bart. That's where I put the cutoff at 67 games. And it's a little disappointing. Like that's what I'm saying. Like imagine if instead of 5 guys in your lineup that were league average, imagine if 8 of them were, or if you just had league average the entire thing. Yeah, I'm kind of surprised there's 5 too. If you would have said to me what like I just did to you, I probably only would have said Reynolds, Cruz, and honestly, I might have only said those 2 because I probably would have forgot about Bart.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that's fair. I'm going to get into some questions that we got here before we get out of here, and 2 of them are kind of related. So Jacob was asking about, do we think the Pirates finally clean office? And if they do, who is the ideal replacement? And John basically said the same thing. Who is your ideal manager to replace Shelton? So in terms of like cleaning house, like Jacob said, no. I think Sherrington's safe. I think Shelton. And did you see that Sportsnet Pittsburgh, like their Twitter account, posted an article about like could changes be coming to the Pirates?
Oh, really?
Like, yeah.
Well, I mean, I saw Shelton blow up on Noah Hiles, and everybody just kept saying that's a guy that knows he's going to be gone at the end of the season.
Yeah, it's tough, man.
It's 11-0.
I need to get that clip on here so I can play it from time to time. But Yeah, I mean, it's a tough situation. And it's been a tough situation for Shelton for a lot of his tenure, but I don't think he's done himself any favors. I've said this time and time again. Don't get me wrong. I'm not a Derek Shelton guy, but I do think that there is going to be, part of him that can be like, wasn't working with much ever at the MLB level either. So, I think that there's some give and take there in terms of the job that Derek Shelton has done, but I have absolutely no problem with them moving on. And I think despite all that I just said there, the biggest thing is, is the team still competing? And I think it's been pretty clear that like this team gave up along the way. So at that point, I think that does fall on the manager. And once they don't want to play for that guy anymore, that's when it's time to move on. So I do think that they're going to move on. In terms of names, to be honest with you, I haven't dove too far into this, but I was looking around because when before the White Sox, and I don't know if Grady Sizemore is going to be the long-term answer at manager, but when they fired their manager and there were some names thrown out there, I was kind of taken from that list and I was like, oh, this guy seems intriguing. Oddly enough, one of the names on there was Donnie Kelly, the Pirates bench coach, but to me, I would rather go outside the organization. It's nothing against Donnie Kelly necessarily. He could be a good option. If you want to interview him, great, but that's not necessarily the route that I would like them to go first and foremost. Names like Clayton McCullough, who's the Dodgers first base coach, just a winning pedigree of being around the Dodgers. I think you get a guy like that in here. Kind of the same thing with Will Venables, who just won a World Series on the Rangers staff last year. I think him coming over would be interesting. And then the last name I have on here is Rodney Linares, who is the Rays bench coach. And obviously they're not having the same type of success that they have had in the past. They're 2 games under 500 right now, but that's a team that has operated very similarly to the Pirates. And I just think, getting a guy like that in here who's from like a smaller market has kind of seen the way that they've operated, but been able to put more of a winning product on the field. And they've done it pretty similarly in terms of like it's been pitching for them that has carried them a lot to the Rays, despite maybe not spending the most money or having the biggest household names. So those are 3 names that I came up with. Just kind of going through, looking at who could be potential managerial candidates for 2025. I do want to say a lot of people are throwing around Terry Francona. Like he retired for health reasons. It doesn't sound like he's interested in getting back into baseball. And if he were, is this really the opportunity that he's looking for?
Why the Pirates?
Right. I get the hometown thing, but like if he were given it another crack, don't you think he'd be like to try to win a World Series?
I mean, yeah, go manage Beaver Falls before you manage the Pirates. They probably perform better.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing. It's like, there's stress, I'm sure, being a manager for any MLB team, but for the Pirates, listen, we're not trying to compound those health problems that Terry Francona has here. So I don't think that this is an opportunity that he would be jumping to take.
Yeah, I agree with that. And I also agree that I think that no matter really what happens from this point on, at least for this season, Ben Cherington is still going to be here. Derek Shelton to me just looks like a walking dead man. He is gone at the end of the season. And I don't know if that was too graphic or not, but like I just think he knows he's going to be gone. Everybody else knows he's going to be gone, and it's just kind of operating that way. And it's kind of time. We've talked about whether we want Shelton to be the guy when this team is good. We thought that he was the right guy to bring in whenever you're bringing them out of the depths, but whenever it takes them over the top, we thought that there could be other options that could be better for this team. I wish they would get to a point where Ben Cherington would go with him, but I just don't think that's going to happen.
I really don't. I mean, it sounds like from everything that I've gathered, just listening to people that are in the know and stuff like that, it sounds like there's a longer leash there for him than with Shelton, and probably a longer leash than the fans would like there to be. I would start over both spots, but I don't think that that's going to happen. So, yeah, I think for now, Cherington stays and Shelton doesn't make the cut. Smitty from around the 412 here, and while I may not have much hair, the hair that I do have will not be cut by anybody besides Keek at Keek's Barbershop. My friend Christian Circle, been with us since day one. Keek's Barbershop, located 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Download the app The Cut, book an appointment with Christian today, or you can do walk-in with Tony or Ashley. But again, Keek's Barbershop, 401 Burkitch Way, Suite 2 in Beaver, PA. Go check them out. Old school vibe in there. Absolutely love it. Cannot recommend them enough. Wouldn't go anywhere else. maybe I'll see you there. Speaking of hair, I'm doing something with my hair this weekend.
saw that.
So for any wrestling fans out there, if you've seen like how Jey Uso has just like the back of his hair a different color, I'm getting some blonde thrown in my hair this weekend. So excited to see how that turns out. I trust Jenny, but it's more so do I trust myself how it's gonna look. I know she'll do a great job.
Into the back of your hair. That's just your hair.
That's true. Yeah. just the mullet, the mullet that's going on back here. Yeah, we don't, because if I wear a hat, no one could tell what's going on with my hair. Just looks like a guy with some flow. I just don't take the hat off.
I gotta know, now that you brought up a mullet, Quentin's son Gordon brought up to me because they cut his hair into like a little mullet, and Quentin's son Gordon brought up to me that I should wear a mullet. I should grow out a mullet. And Kennedy said, I think you should do it. Is this a terrible idea?
I don't, it's hard for me to picture with you. Like, see, I had longer hair before.
Yeah.
Like I've had kind of something similar already prior to like because I haven't cut the back now in like 5 or 6 months.
You haven't seen me with long hair since December of 2018. That was the last time I had long hair, because I went from June to December without cutting my hair, and it wasn't like super long.
Does it grow out more than it does down?
Yes, because my hair. Well, your hair. I mean, I think it curls a little bit when it gets long, but your hair is mostly straight. Whenever it was, but yeah, it does curl. But my hair will. As soon as it starts, my hair's super curly, so I just get like wings, and it just grows out instead of down. I'll show you a picture after this. It might spark your memory, but like you definitely would have seen me with longish.
I mean, yeah,
hair.
I would. Yes, I would have had to. Anyways,
Pirates episode, by the way.
Pirates episode, by the way. The last thing that I want to touch on, Mike in Illinois, friend of the show, longtime supporter, also always generous. You mentioned the Rock Around the 412 at the beginning of the show. Maybe the biggest contributor over the years right there in Mike in Illinois. Said, will the Pirates hit the over on 75.5 wins, which is their win total from before the year on FanDuel? They are, if they hold on to win this game, and they've got a pretty nice lead now over the Marlins. It's kind of, they've opened, actually, it's 6-3 now. Okay, it was 6-1. Now I just looked at it 6-3. But if they hold on to win this game, it'd be their 69th nice win of the season. So they'd need to win 7 more games to go over that win total. The remainder of their schedule, I don't know if daunting is the right word. So they got the Royals, pretty good team in the AL, fighting for a playoff spot. Cardinals, who I never, in St. Louis, at Cincinnati, and then home versus the Brewers before they go to New York to take on the Yankees to finish out the season, which, by the way, so weird that their last series against the Yankees in New York. That looks like it's going to be tough, right? To get 7 more wins out of those. 3 against the Royals, 4 against the Cardinals, 3 against the Reds, 3 against the Brewers, 3 against the Yankees.
Or in other words,
7 wins.
Division leader, Black Magic team that plays in a T-ball park, division leader is another way to describe that.
Right.
Between Kansas City, Milwaukee, and New York, out of those 9 games, I think you're hoping for 2 wins in those series. Maybe that's too low, but that's where I would probably set.
They do still have 1 more against the Marlins, by the way. So say they win tomorrow,
1 more against the Marlins.
They could get to be at 70 after tomorrow with those series remaining. Now here, let me just put the math in front of you there that I could see it's possible. 1 against the take 1 against the Royals out of 3, split with the Cardinals, 2 against the Reds, 1 against the Brewers, 1 against the Yankees. That would get you to the 76.
I think that's possible. For sure. But you'd have to take at least 1 out of those division leaders games. If you get swept by any of them,
if there's a sweep in there, it's not happening.
I'm not feeling confident at all. I don't think that you're going to take the majority of those games in St. Louis. Pirates it's not even the Pirates. It's St. Louis that for some reason just has this devil magic about them.
Might feel better.
No matter what happens in St. Louis. Yeah, absolutely. But in St. Louis, absolutely not. At Cincinnati, that's kind of a wild card to me. Like the Pirates could sweep. The Pirates could get swept. I don't really know what to expect otherwise in that kind of series, especially in that ballpark. So it will be tough. It'll be really close, I think. But all I know is like I don't remember what I said, but I think I said something like 83 wins on the season.
Oh, yeah.
And
we were both kind of right there.
We're cooked. We are cooked. We're dead in the water. I think they'd have to win out to get 83 games.
You lose 10 in a row. That's, a nail in the coffin right there. Like, I mean, once that happened, that was it.
I was bummed
still
out.
had games to play afterwards. Yeah. I appreciate getting the accent in there. But yeah, that was the nail in the coffin for the season at that point in time. Like they are not, if the Yankees have a 10-game losing streak, they had something actually pretty similar. They had a really bad month, but they can overcome that. The Pirates, they do, like without that, even if they go 5-5 in there, we're still talking about this team maybe having a little bit of life for the playoffs right now. But you can't, they can't endure a 10-game losing streak. And, that's what happened. So, I mean, if they would have went 5-5 in there, they would be 73-71 right now. Knocking on the door, their 74th win.
That's tough. That's a tough pill to swallow.
Mm-hmm. Which the wild card, like these teams have started to run away with it because the Mets are the third wild card and they have 79 wins. So.
But also, some of your losing streak was against those wild card teams.
That's true. Yeah,
if you
Diamondbacks
win some of those
wins,
games,
yeah,
it might not be that much out of reach. I don't know.
Yeah, that's fair. That's it. I can't believe we had actually a 35+ minute conversation here about the Pirates, but we did. Anything else to add?
Is Shohei? Excuse me, that little that accent came out a little stronger than I wanted to. Is Shohei going to get 50 and 50?
I don't even know what he's at right now, and I'm going to say
so.
Yes.
He's at 46 home runs, 47 stolen bases right now.
Yeah. Yep. He might get in their next game.
He's the best player of all time, right?
I think so.
Like it's him, then Bonds.
Let's see Bonds pitch.
That's what I'm saying. That's why Shohei's above him.
Yeah.
Crazy. Well, that's it.
I don't think you'll see anything like it again. So, like, subscribe, hit that notification bell. Of course, hit us in the comments with your thoughts, anything that we talked about today, any questions for a future episode. If you're listening somewhere else, be sure to hit us with a 5-star review. Subscribe over there, Apple, Spotify, wherever your podcast from. We can be found there. Just search Around the 412. And wherever you're watching or listening, be sure to hit up the links as well. We got all of our sponsors. We got year 7 of Rocking Around the 412. One of the sponsors that we got to talk about, our friend Haley Wagner Small Business, Everything Custom Designs. Take it away. Need a custom t-shirt, hoodie, tumbler? Stop what you're doing. Don't go anywhere else. Check out the link in the description. Everything Custom Designs, our friend Haley Wagner Small Business. She can do all that for you. She even does Around the 412 merch, t-shirts, hoodies, long sleeve tees, bunch of different stuff. I even got a tumbler from her as well. So go check out the link in the description. Goes directly to her Facebook page. All of her stuff can be found there. Again, Everything Custom Designs. Haley Wagner. She does great work. Can't recommend her enough. Go check it out. My hoodies will be here next week. So hopefully it is before we record next week and I can show them off. I literally got all 3 just with the circular design. It's clearly my favorite of them. I actually got on the podcast today wearing that hat, but Tyler was wearing it as well. And I was like, all right, we're not doing this today. So I threw on the OG logo Around the 412 one. Which, by the way, if you are interested in a hat, I can always place another order. I just placed one recently, but if you guys want hats, I'll keep getting them. So let me know if you want one of the hats. But in the description, you can find the stuff from Haley, Everything Custom Designs, the link directly to our merch or her website in general to be able to get your own custom stuff. Game Changers and Pick 6, save $10 using code AT412 at checkout. Just added some more shirts. We got Tyler hooked up with the Steve Young BYU that he was asking for. So be sure to check that out if you are also a BYU fan that happens to be a Pittsburgh Pirates fan. We know that is a massive portion of the people that watch or listen to the show. There's just a large following in general where those overlap.
Yeah.
So, of course,
me,
and then
me
our
and
show,
Quentin.
DC4L Customs. Yeah, did you send that to any of the BYU boys to let them know?
Not yet. Not yet.
Oh,
I will.
Hopefully we get some sales off that. But you guys have been great. I don't know if it's people that watch or listen to the show or people that just know about the code and they're plugging them in, but we're getting sales each month using the code AT412. So we appreciate you guys. I know Game Changers does as well. So like I said, subscribe, hit the notification bell, subscribe, leave a 5-star review if you're listening somewhere else. Follow us on all the social medias at Around the 412. For Tyler, for Smitty, this has been the Around the 412 Pirates Show. We'll see you next time.